What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Spot. This is the spot for all things empowerment through yoga, meditation, and psychoeducation. My name is Dalia, and I am here to make mental health a little more accessible by creating this kind of content to educate and hopefully inspire. And today's topic is sacred anger. And with everything that's happening in the Middle East right now, I thought this was an especially relevant topic to talk about. We're seeing a lot of horrible things happening in that part of the world, and it's natural to feel a lot of heavy emotions. Violence is never okay, and loss is always a terrible thing to have to grieve. But if you are an Arab and you're watching how Western media portrays things, and you're struggling with feeling heard, and you're struggling with feeling understood, and you're struggling with having to justify your anger, then I feel you. These last few days have been a roller coaster of emotions, but there is one emotion that has persisted throughout, and that is anger. In a world that often teaches us to suppress our anger, labeling it as bad or unacceptable, it's time to reclaim the sacredness of this powerful emotion. Anger, like any other feeling, is a natural part of being human. It's a signal that something is wrong, unjust, or in need of change. Instead of fearing it, instead of rejecting it, instead of denying it, what if we learn to harness the energy of anger for growth and transformation? Anger can be a true source of empowerment. Recognizing our anger can help us to give us courage to say no, to speak up, to put boundaries, to protect our well-being, to drive social change. When it's channeled constructively, anger becomes a force for asserting our worth and demanding respect in relationships, work, and society. Anger can also be channeled into creativity. Through art, music, or writing, we can express our anger in ways that are not harmful, rather therapeutic. And creativity becomes an outlet for releasing intense emotions and turning them into something beautiful and meaningful, and even something that can help us create that change. More on that in a bit. And finally, anger can really help us drive social change. History has shown us that anger, when harnessed collectively, can drive significant social change. Movements advocating for civil rights, gender equality, and environmental justice were all fueled by the collective anger against injustice. It's a potent force for challenging the status quo and striving for a better world. So the next time that you feel anger rising within you, pause. Reflect on what it's trying to tell you. Channel its energy into something positive. And I'm going to give you a step-by-step guide on how you can do that. I'm going to share with you some steps on how you can utilize your sacred anger in a productive and meaningful way. Step number 1, acknowledge and accept your anger. Self-awareness is key. Recognize and accept your anger without judgment. A lot of times we judge ourselves for feeling what we think is a bad emotion, but that just adds to it. Acceptance is key. Understand that anger is a valid emotion stemming from a perceived injustice, and that's a beautiful thing. And I also want to encourage you to practice mindfulness here, because our conditioning is to sweep anger under the rug. But if we allow that anger to be there, we can really learn from it. And how can we practice mindfulness? Simply by breathing. Now, anger can be one of those emotions that can be overwhelming sometimes. So learning how to breathe with it is an important tool. I'm going to show you how. Consecutive breathing is a great way to manage this emotion. And it's inhaling and exhaling through your nose without a pause in between the inhale and the exhale. So it looks like this. So I'm inhaling long and slow through my nose, no pause in between. And if it still feels overwhelming, practice adding a visualization aspect to it where you do this breathing, but then you visualize sending this anger out into the room or the space that you're in. Step number 2, identify the root cause. Now, reflection is important here. So, taking some time to understand the source of your anger. Is it a social issue or is it an injustice, like what's been happening in Palestine for 70 plus years? And education is also important. So, not just knowing your triggers, but knowing your context and knowing your history, learning more about the issue that angers you. Knowledge empowers you to address problems more effectively. As you can see from a lot of the biased and misinformed information out there, all the posts out there, knowledge is really the best way to tackle misinformation. Step number 3, channel your energy. Now, we talked a little bit about creative expression, but using outlets such as writing, art, and music to express your emotions cannot just be cathartic, it can also rally people. What brings people together like an anthem or a song or a poem or a strongly worded essay? So, channeling it for your message is an amazing way to use your anger productively. Another thing to do is through physical activity. This is important because we need to channel our energy in a productive way. So, not just through creative expression, but also through physical activities. And somatic exercises are an amazing tool to process these heavy emotions so that we can actually channel it better. So, I'm going to share with you 3 quick somatic exercises that you can do whenever you're feeling angry. And somatics is just a way to move emotions through the body. The first somatic exercise for sacred anger is stomping. How you do it. You find a safe and private space where you can stop the stomp without any interruption. Take a deep breath in, acknowledging your anger. And as you exhale, stomp your feet forcefully on the ground, feeling the impact travel through your body. And repeat this several times, focusing on the sensations in your legs and the ground beneath you. Pay attention to how your body's feeling after you release that anger. So stomp, stomp, stomp. Somatic exercise number 2 is pillow slams. I love this one. Grab a pillow, hold it with both hands, and imagine your anger transferring into this pillow. And with a loud yell or simply a strong exhale, slam the pillow onto a bed or the floor or your couch or whatever. And keep doing this until you feel the intensity of your emotions begin to subside. And the third somatic exercise that I want to share with you is called a wall push. I do this one a lot. It's a good workout too. So you stand facing a wall with your feet shoulder width apart, and you place your palms flat against the wall at shoulder height. Taking a deep breath in, you ground yourself, and as you exhale, you push against the wall as if you're trying to move it. Focus on the strength in your hands and the resistance from the wall. It's going to bring up a lot of energy and a lot of anger. Just keep breathing through it. Keep repeating this process until your anger is fully processed and released with each push. Bonus tip for processing this anger physically. What's more healing than a sacred scream? That's right. Go outside, go to your car, go wherever you can be alone and not feel self-conscious about this and scream. Scream, let it all out. Nervous system activation through voice and through your throat chakra is a very amazing and underutilized way of calming our nervous system. So those are just some ways that we can channel our anger through creativity and through physical activity. Now let's go back to it. We said the first step was acknowledging our anger and allowing it to be there. The second step was education and understanding our triggers. The third step is channeling that anger. Step number 4 is to engage in constructive conversations. Engage in respectful conversations with other people who share your concerns and people who don't. Again, respectfully is the key word here. Listen actively and try to understand different perspectives. And when I talk about active listening, I don't mean practice what you want to say while that person is still talking. I mean, really understand what they're saying, put yourself in their shoes, and try to see things from a different perspective. Again, education is important here. Educate others about the issues that make you angry. Knowledge dissemination can raise awareness and lead to collective action. And when someone is misinformed and they're willing to listen and they're willing to understand, then engaging in this kind of constructive dialogue can be a very positive force for change. Step number 5, advocacy and activism. Join or support causes that are near and dear to you. Participate in or support organizations and movements that work towards positive change in the areas that you care about. And I know, especially for Palestine, there's a lot of great organizations who are rallying and doing a lot of amazing things on ground and online. So do your research. And engage in peaceful protest. I've done this a lot, and it makes you feel like you've at least done something. If applicable, of course, and if it's safe, engage in peaceful protest and demonstrations to raise awareness about the issues at hand. Because let's not forget, with all the bias in Western media, some people just simply don't know any better because this is all they've been taught. So that brings me to step number 6, which is have compassion and empathy, not only to others, but also to yourself. Dealing with anger can be challenging. So practicing compassion in your journey is a big part of it. A lot of times we judge ourselves for how we feel, and that only makes things worse. So accepting your feelings as they are and seeing them as your compass and treating yourself like someone you love is part of the therapeutic process. And like I said, have empathy and try to understand the perspectives of those that you disagree with. You know, empathy can foster dialogue and bridge gaps. The intention here is not to bad others, not to drive more division, to drive more separation. It's the goal is to drive understanding. And step number 7 is to seek support. Community is so healing. Connect with like-minded individuals, join a support group. Being a part of a community can provide emotional support and validation for your emotions, but be careful, very important to add this little caution point, of being an echo chamber of anger that is used inconstructively and towards not peaceful causes. We're always trying to be peaceful and we're trying to just disseminate the right information in the right way. And of course, therapy is, consider talking to a therapist or a coach or someone who can help you to navigate your emotions and to develop coping strategies, because we've not been taught how to cope with a lot of our heavy emotions. And sometimes asking for help and leaning on someone who can teach you is the best thing that you can do for yourself. And finally, practice patience and perseverance. Have a long-term perspective. Understand that social change takes time. Stay committed to your cause even when progress seems slow. And don't forget that self-care, I can't stress this enough, take care of your physical and mental well-being. Advocacy can be draining, so make sure to recharge to maintain your overall health. Take social media breaks, ground yourself, regulate your nervous system. Whew, so those are our 8 steps towards how we can channel anger more constructively to drive social change. So again, step number 1, acknowledge and accept your anger. Step number 2, identify the root cause and educate yourself. Step number 3, channel your energy, whether through creativity or physically, making sure we channel our energy and have an outlet. Step number 4, engage in constructive conversations. And 5, advocacy and activism, joining and supporting causes, peaceful protests. Step number 6, be compassionate to yourself and others. This is important because, again, we're not trying to drive more separation. We're trying to invite unity here. And practicing compassion and empathy for ourselves and others is an important part in that. Step number 7, seek support when needed. Remember, there's nothing wrong with asking for help. And finally, step number 8 is to practice patience and perseverance. Remember, sacred anger is not about suppressing your emotions, but rather using them as a driving force for positive change. By channeling your anger into constructive action, you can contribute meaningfully to addressing the issues that provoke your emotion. I hope you found this video helpful. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. If you did, leave a comment. Let me know if you have any questions or if there's any other topics or feelings that you're struggling with that you'd like to learn more about. Thank you. I'm sending you all the love in the world.